In a healthy economy, companies that can't make money are supposed to die. They go bankrupt, and their workers, machines, and capital are released to stronger hands. Joseph Schumpeter called it creative destruction. The failure of the weak makes room for the success of the strong. But in the era of cheap money, something strange happened. Companies that couldn't even pay the interest on their debts refused to die. They kept walking, the undead of the economy. Zombie firms. The definition is brutally simple. A zombie is a company whose earnings can't even cover its interest payments. Not the principal, just the interest. By every normal measure, it's finished. So what keeps it moving? It borrows new money to pay for the old. Roll over, refinance, repeat, staggering on year after year without ever earning its right to exist. Zombies need two things to survive. First, cheap money. At normal interest rates, an unviable firm dies quickly. The debt is too expensive to roll. Push rates near zero for years, and even the deeply broken can shuffle along. Cheap money is the zombie's lifeblood. Second, a lender who won't pull the plug. Here's the bank's dirty secret. If it forces the zombie into bankruptcy, it must recognize the loss on its own books. So instead, it extends the loan and pretends the borrower is fine. Extend and pretend. The weaker the bank, the harder it pretends, because admitting the loss might expose the bank itself. So what's the harm in letting the dead walk? Everything. A zombie is a trap. The workers, the factories, the capital inside it produce almost nothing, but they can't be released to firms that would use them better. Multiply that across thousands of zombies, and the whole economy's productivity quietly bleeds. And the zombies don't just waste their own resources. They poison the market for the living. They keep producing, keep discounting, keep competing, taking customers and workers that healthy firms should have won. The strong can't expand into space the dead refuse to vacate. This is the deepest damage. Creative destruction dies. Schumpeter's engine has two strokes: creation and destruction. Kill the destruction, and creation starves. No cleansing, no renewal, no room for the new. Japan wrote the textbook. After its great bubble burst, Japanese banks, buried in bad loans, kept legions of unviable firms alive rather than admit the losses. The undead trapped capital for years, crowded out the healthy. And Japan got its lost decades. The archetypal lesson in what an economy of zombies looks like. But every zombie story has a reckoning. When interest rates finally rise, the arithmetic that kept the undead walking breaks. Refinancing turns expensive, the rollover machine jams, and the failures postponed for a decade start arriving at once. Painful, but overdue. It's the cleansing the cheap money era suppressed. For investors, the lesson is a flashlight. Check the interest cover. A company that can't pay its interest from its earnings isn't cheap. It's undead, and rising rates are sunlight. It also solves a puzzle. Why did the cheap money era pair booming markets with disappointing productivity? The zombies were dragging the floor down all along. India fought its own version of this battle: mountains of bad corporate loans, banks slow to admit them, and answered with recognition, recapitalization, and a real bankruptcy code, because the cure is always the same. Let the dead actually die. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Failure isn't a flaw in capitalism, it's the immune system. Try to abolish death in an economy, and what you get isn't life, it's zombies. If this changed how you read cheap money, there's more where that came from.